All right. Are we back? That's the question I have to ask. So I need to know if you guys are back with me. Again, okay, so I noticed that I simply couldn't continue. I don't know what was wrong. And then my chat was, when I tried to type something in the chat, it said nothing to see. Nothing there. It was gone. My stream was killed. Yeah, it was dropped by YouTube for a moment. I don't know why or what. But see, I've had complete access to the telescopes, which is weird because, you know, if you lose the access to the telescopes, you know, Carl B, there's plenty to see here. Yes, Marianne, we are back. Yeah, we are back. Let's see now what else is hiding in here. I mean, I'm still here. I'm still looking at the same object that we left on. So I never left. Kind of weird. Hey, Norse ancestry, how are you? Are you from Norway? Donald Kunzer says, probably China having some fun with that spyware they put on our devices. Lori at LDP, how are you? Lori, this is the second stream. For some reason, my first stream was... It was just like knocked off the air. Sometimes weird glitches happen, I guess. And this is called the Fox-Fur Nebula. I didn't tell you that before. And it's part of the Christmas tree cluster, yes. So, but it's Fox-Fur Nebula. Okay. Okay. And I'll get rid of this. So we captured 15. I'll save it anyway. It's got a little motion from the wind, even though I'm able to do. Oh, Marianne, you're right. Even with the motion from the wind, I actually had to finish the exposures because it's a little elongated here, but it's all right. It'll be fine. I just wanted to mention, I didn't say this before, Marianne, and I probably should have. We actually got a nice donation. It wasn't money, okay, but it was an object, and I'm going to put this out there. If you guys want a really good write-off, then you can donate an old car to Sky Tour Livestream. And in the case of what we just received, we got a 20-foot ski boat. No lie, a 20-foot impeccably kept ski boat that we're going to sell and use that money to help further our cause and pay for our bills. It was really an amazing donation. The people that donated it were really, I guess would say mega fans. And I thought that was just beautiful, you know. They were looking for a good place to donate, so they figured, let's donate to a young nonprofit and make it worth their while. And it was just incredible. So it's really, really humbling when someone will turn around and donate something of that magnitude to us. Now, yes, I'm a scientist. I'm an astronomer. But when someone does a donation like that, you just like, yes, as Lori at LDP says, yeah, mind blown. You know, it's just an incredible thing. And so I do want to publicly thank the people that donated this boat to us. And it's not like the boat wouldn't get used, right? But it would, except that we're not the boat thing. We're actually a science and astronomy thing. Now, I know somebody made a joke. Why don't you actually make we used to have this idea, and we still do, of a portable rolling observatory that we could, take to different cities and schools right in the middle of the city, and people can see stuff over their heads because our filters can see through the haze and lights of a city and show some very, very cool stuff in spite of it. And that's kind of the idea we want to do. However, somebody joked around and said, "Hey, I know, make it a boat and just take it to all the marinas around there." That's funny. Except a telescope on a boat doesn't work unless the boat has very, very high-end stabilization. The mobile observatory, correct? Yeah, that's what Marianne said. I was hunting for the word mobile. Yeah. So, hopefully we're all back together here. It seems like we have a few of you back. Phosphor Nebula is looking good there. I am going to color correct again. We might get a little more, that's more like it, get a little more red. Stars are a little oblate, but I want you to just see the structure. Here is a nebula, and this is dark dust, okay, in here. Now, I know it looks like hydrogen emission, and there is some mixed into this, yes. But this is actually mostly dark dust, and this dark dust is obscuring the other lit dust behind it. So that's probably up here, while the other dark dust behind it that's blue is back here, okay? So it's like a hand sitting in front of, the blue dust back here. Really neat. Okay, Donald, thank you. And then Awesome Potamus, how are you? All I heard was telescope on a ski boat. Yeah, right? Yeah, you can just imagine that, can't you? Yeah, water does a number, especially if the boat gets a hole in it or sinks. Oh, I don't even want to think. It makes me shudder because, you don't want the hard-earned electronics and telescope gear to be at the bottom of a lake. Yes, you have a trout boat, a ski boat, and a bass boat. I didn't know there were differences, by the way. C&D boy, welcome back. And thank you. Happy anniversary. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. I am well. Awesome Hippopotamus. Okay, we're going to stop this one here. We'll save this right here and save it exactly as seen, and then move on. To do that, we're going to just do this. We're going to say goodbye and go to our low light mode so we can actually see the sky in a low light 1 second set of exposures. And let's go back to our planetarium, back out. Okay, and now that we've backed out, we can go to this guy. Actually, it's not high enough yet. We gotta wait a little bit, but this is high enough. We're gonna go look at this. This is called the Rosette Nebula, and the Rosette Nebula has a amazing set of stars in the center. It's a cluster, and this cluster is actually a cluster that's carved out with its hot gases, carved out the center of this nebula, right? We call it a cavity, and it's made a cavity in there. So what we're going to do is we want to get to a certain spot on here to show you some of this really cool stuff, like right here. So what I want to do is find ourselves a location right there. So let's take this star right here. Okay, let's we're kind of there now, but we're gonna center it up. All right, and to do that, we have to do this. We're going to do some deep adjustments, so this will move a little bit. You'll see it kind of just shift a tiny bit. Here we go. Okay, and that right there is the star we're interested in. I don't think it'll tell us. That's Hipparchus 31130, that one up there. And let's go back here. I believe we're still upside down here. So let's, yeah, we are. So this is good. So what I'll do now is I'm going to, we're going to take us and put us here and move us to a spot that I want to show you guys. All right, so we're going to go from here. All right, we're going to go to here, this section right here. I want to show you all this dark stuff here. So I'm just going to move over just a little bit. Okay, so we've just shifted over just a little bit. All right, and I can get rid of this for now. And I'm going to get us a guide star. So let's take another picture. Okay, and now let's actually get us a guide star. All right, and go for it. All right, so now let's just take this image and see what we get for 35 seconds. All right. This is an emission nebula, meaning that it's red because of hydrogen gas emitting light that's caused by the hot light of the stars that are ionizing the hydrogen gas, which means it's driving the single electron on a hydrogen atom off. And when it rejoins the atom moments later, it cascades down into the atom, and it will actually create a bit of light coming off of it, a little bit of red light. And that's why it's a red emission nebula. Let's see if we're where we belong. Oh, we are exactly where we belong. Perfect. Okay, so look at this. Is this not amazing? This is this red light of this emission nebula that I was telling you about. Okay, and you can see this dark dust. Let me pull this down to actually bring it back a little bit to a little more visibility. I'm going to move that up just a bit to get the maximum contrast. And then I'm going to actually move this down, okay, and allow us to see this full screen, relatively speaking. And so this dark dust is all interspersed within other dust that's out here. Some of the dust is being illuminated by starlight. Some of the dust is so dense that starlight cannot penetrate it, like right here. And this area is an example, but look at, you're going to see a lot of details showing up in here. And then we have some areas of red emission that are showing up here. We're really, really, really brightly. Let me just quickly look at something here. Let me do this. Come back over here. And yeah, it's upside down, of course, because, you know, we're looking at it upside down. You know, the telescope's upside down. And that square, that red square you just saw in here, this red square is the size of our field. Okay, it's 3088 by 3088. Okay, but you see the writing is upside down, see? Like right here. Oh, sorry. What am I doing? The writing is upside down. All right, and you can kind of see that. That's upside down. So if you flip your head upside down, you can see it looks like a Y now, or here's the inverted side of it when it's upside down. So what the telescope sees is different from what the planetarium shows. So you have to be good at doing those kind of spatial relationships. It's kind of cool. All right, let's see now. Carl B says, at least you don't have a sunken boat. Looks like there are skiing areas in Arizona. Yeah, actually it is in Arizona. Oh, there's plenty. Roosevelt Lake, other lakes. But skiing is relegated to certain areas. where you can actually ski. It has to be open, and it has to be a predefined area inside of a lake. You can't just go run a ski boat over any old place in the lake. You got to have specific zones. A place like it's not a no wake zone. Okay, nowhere where other people might just be sitting and fishing. You got to be careful about that. All right, so let's see what's okay. Oh, Donald Kunzer says, Mark, isn't it a coincidence, but the propeller pattern shows up quite often. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting pattern, like you're talking about. We were just talking about a ski boat. Boom, we see propeller. We also have a feature in Measure 13, which we can't currently see, known as the propeller. It's just an interesting feature within the globular cluster. Look at all the detail in here. My gosh, this is beautiful. Let's color correct this too. All right, and let's get a little more contrast. Right up there, a little more, right about there. And let's pull this in just a little more up the curve. Let's see what we got. Wow. This is very, very cool. And I'm going to call this Rosette Nebula Detail. All right. That's beautiful. Now you see what's happening? We have stacked 8 images, all right, in here, and you can see that when we look here, okay, at the live stacking, you see 8 images we've stacked. And after one image, when we stacked one image, you couldn't see all these little details, but now we can see them because we're averaging out all the noise that's in the non-data areas, which covers up the data that we want to look at. And in this case, it's averaging out the data. Lori at LDP says, so Mark, is dark dust related to dark matter? Oh, no, don't even say newbie question. No. Dark matter is, okay, no. The only relation is they have the same word. Let me explain the difference between dark matter, dark energy, and dark nebula. Okay. When astronomers use the term dark in terms of energy or matter like this, the term means something different from dark nebula. Okay, a dark nebula is, well, what you see here. It's a nebula that is dense enough so the starlight can't penetrate it, and it's also made of carbon particles, silicon particles, and these are the products of older stars. All right, and as older stars evolve, they give off molecules of dust on their outer atmospheres. When stars go supernova, they push a lot of the dust that was being formed in their outer atmospheres further out, and it mixes into the interstellar medium, and we end up with something like this. And it's the pressure from starlight that moves this dust around, because that's the only thing that's moving it, is the pressure from starlight out there. There's no engines on it, so to speak, right? You know that. But when you check it out and you look at this, you say, well, wait a minute. This dark dust then, this dark dust then has to be really prominent in the universe for there to be so much of it. And the answer is there is. Because when you look at a galaxy, right along the center line of a galaxy, you see all this dark matter all the way around, dark dust, I should say, all around. And we call those dark lanes, and those are areas where massive amounts of dust has accumulated. Little particles that are a few microns in size have accumulated to make molecules, and these particles are actually sitting out there. Now, let's take an example. This dark region right here. This dark region right here. might have 30 to 300 to 3,000 atoms in the size of a sugar cube, okay? Compared to air, which has like 10 to the 19th or more atoms in the same cube of air, okay, the same sugar cube size. So when we say it's a dense cloud, density means something different when we talk in space. Inside of a star, the density can really get high, yes. Depending on the star, the density can exceed by millions of times the densest part of the Earth. Okay, when we talk about neutron stars, for instance. So when we talk about dark dust like this is dust that was made from old stars, and it ended up filtering out into the interstellar medium. We talk about dark matter. That comes from a whole different place and has nothing to do with anything you're seeing right here. Dark matter is a theoretical substance that keeps galaxies rotating in the way that they do. And what does that mean? When you look at a galaxy, and I'm not sure if we'll get to see one today, we may. When you look at a galaxy rotating, you don't see the rotation, of course, because we only live 100 years or so at most, and galaxy rotation takes place over hundreds of millions of years. So when you look at spiral arms of a galaxy, you see that they swoop out and come back on themselves. They kind of come out from the center and swoop around. Well, what is that swooping around? That's something that could be caused by something called differential rotation. Okay, now what is that? It means that things closer to the center move a little faster around the core than the stuff outside. So if you have a straight line of material running from the center all the way to the outside, and you start everything rotating, but these particles are gravitationally bound to it, then what will happen is the ones in the middle will rotate faster around the center because they need to do that in order to stay in a circular orbit. But the stuff on the outside is going to go slower. So over time, that straight line is going to kind of make a curve and lag behind. But the problem we've seen is that galaxies that have existed for billions and billions of years aren't all wound up. We would expect those spiral arms to be wound up tight on all the galaxies we see, and they're not. So why in the world are galaxy spiral arms not wound up? Because something is also on the outside edges of the galaxies where they should be moving slower, kind of pulling it along. So they did some models, mathematical models, showing galactic rotation. And they discovered that galaxies seem to rotate kind of like a rigid disk. Not really rigid, but a rigid disk that has some differential rotation in it, but not a lot. Now that didn't make sense. So they had to figure out a way that this could happen. And the way that they tried to figure out how this could happen is that they had to theoretically suggest that maybe there was another form of matter that we couldn't see that was actually like a halo around the galaxy. So if the galaxy is in here, okay, right in a spot about this big, the dark matter halo is like this, surrounding the galaxy. And as the galaxy rotates, the dark matter is rotating and kind of tugging the outer material along somewhat, but not fully. And that would explain. So I think if we think about what dark matter actually is, okay, we now know about dark nebulae, these are particles of dust. Dark matter, however, isn't dust. In fact, it's not even regular molecules that we're used to. It's not something called baryonic matter, made of baryons, okay? So we're talking about, it's not made of protons, electrons, muons, gluons, and so on, okay? It's made of something we don't yet understand. The model shows that galactic rotation can be fully explained, or explained better, by simply looking at dark matter as a possible culprit in helping galaxies rotate. Now the problem is we don't see it. C&D Boy says it very eloquently. Dark matter interacts with ordinary matter by gravity. It does not seem to interact at all with the electromagnetic spectrum, including visible light. Dark matter, it doesn't absorb, reflect, or emit light. Okay, all true. Well done. You get an A, Bob. So, but the fact is, okay, when we take this a little step further, this isn't the only problem we're facing. The other problem we're facing is we thought we understood how the universe is expanding. Originally, when the universe was first, the meaning of the universe, the mechanisms of the universe were first postulated, we thought that maybe the universe was steady state, just there. But then we noticed that galaxies further away had something called a redshift value. And where does redshift come from? Well, think of it this way. When an object in space is heading away from you, its light is shifted into the red end of the spectrum a little bit. And that's called the Doppler shift. Okay? If it's coming toward you, it's shifted into the blue end of the spectrum. So we've very accurately were able to figure out stars that are rotating around invisible objects by seeing the stars going toward us and away from us in some fashion. We take it and deep project it to like being flat and say how far is it going either way, and we could figure out the mass of the object that's surrounding it based on that redshift, or so that Doppler shift. But when we look at galaxies far away, we find out that every galaxy out there, except for like in our group and other groups of galaxies, every galaxy out there is moving away from every other galaxy. Now wait a minute. Every galaxy out there is moving away from other galaxies. How can that be? Well, here's how that works. I have a model that I did of it. If you blow up a balloon only to about, say, this big, and then you take a Sharpie and put black dots all over it, okay, everywhere. You continue blowing up the balloon, and on the outer side where all those black dots are, every one of those black dots is moving away from every other dot. See? So that is the model for the expansion of the universe. Think of a balloon with dots on it blowing up, and every dot will move away. I actually did this physically. You can do it physically too. And you can blow up a balloon with dots on it and say, look, my balloon has the measles. Or you can say, look, my balloon is demonstrating the expansion of the universe. Okay? Now, when you blow it up at a constant rate, then that's the old model of the expansion of the universe, expanding at a constant rate. That constant rate was known as the Hubble constant. Why? Because Edwin P. Hubble came up with this number, h sub 0, h with a 0 near it, which was the original expansion coefficient of the universe that he came up with. Okay, and its amount of its amount of distance. How much is it expanding every second? Well, here's the thing. When we talk about looking at the expansion rate of the universe, we found that there's something wrong. It's not expanding at the same rate any more than Hubble was saying. In fact, it was very different. Like, wait a minute, who's wrong, Hubble or us? Neither. At the time Hubble measured it, it was that rate. Okay? But then it changed. It looks like the expansion is not just steady expansion, it's accelerating expansion. So it's going faster and faster every second. And if you take into account that new data, then it sort of explains what we see. So that led to a new thing. So we talked about dark nebula. We talked about dark matter to help keep galaxies spinning sort of as a constant disk, a halo around a galaxy. And now we have to talk about something that helps the universe expand faster and faster every second. And that's where dark energy came from. Well, dark energy is a force that's called a repulsive force. That doesn't mean it's nasty looking. It means that everything affected by dark energy is being moved away from everything else. It's repulsive. It sends everything away from everything else. And so this means then, I'll get to that in a minute, Carl B. Good question. And this means then that when we look at dark energy and its role in the universe, dark energy seems to explain, and we may be dispensing with this at some point soon, by the way, Dark energy seems to explain why the universe is expanding faster and faster. So I'll give you an example. When an explosion first occurs, like not the Big Bang, but say an explosion of dynamite, it goes boom, and it slows down as it goes out further. The farther out it goes, it hits air resistance and it begins to slow down. The outer cloud begins to slow down. It's quick in the beginning. You see shockwaves. But then it slows down. Boom. And keeps going. And then slows down until it reaches a maximum diameter and then kind of fades away. All right? It doesn't go on forever. Now, in space, it could go on forever. But the way it would slow down has to do with energy dissipation, how the energy dissipates from the explosion. So thinking of a stick of dynamite on Earth exploding, that's the model that dark energy is explaining. The acceleration, the initial acceleration, and the later slowdown, that's the problem we have. When it initially accelerates, it goes from zero to a faster and faster and faster and faster acceleration. And that seems to be the state we're in now in the universe. So does that mean then that we actually are in a universe that's 13.8 billion years old and it's still expanding at an ever increasing rate? Does that mean that the explosion is longer? Does it mean that the universe is older than we thought or younger than we thought? So many questions. There's so many questions with no answers. And that's part of the problem we have. And by the way, I'm very happy to tell you that all of those problems are the problems of a cosmologist, not an astronomer. An astronomer's duty, like mine, is to know the problem. But I don't have an interest in trying to solve that particular problem. Of course I'm interested in it, but I'm not interested in trying to solve the problem, because I like when we have problems. Having problems is how we learn new things. So that's a long drawn out way to explain dark energy, dark matter, and dark nebula. So I hope that was helpful. All right. And so you asked the question, so I figured I'd answer it in a complete way, rather than just pay it lip service and say, oh, well, you know, I don't do that, as you know. This is beautiful, guys. Look at this thing. Wow, this is really pretty. Let me redock this here and look at that beautiful. And you can see all the different subtle detail in here. This here, you notice it's sort of a teal blue. This is oxygen. That's the third most abundant element in the whole universe. Okay, and this is hydrogen. It's the first most abundant element in the whole universe. Helium's number 2. Carbon's number 4, which is why we're carbon-based with an oxygen dependence. Okay, but when we look here, we see this oxygen, and it's kind of a greenish blue. And the reason is because in this area, I mean, the stars causing this are way out of the shot up there. Okay, because we're only seeing a small portion of this nebula. And they are ionizing the oxygen that's here as well. Now, where did this oxygen come from? It came from, in most cases, it came from many supernovae. When the stars blew up, they also spilled their guts to the universe, and that included all the stuff they were made with, number one, and it included all the stuff that they made themselves. Okay, oxygen can be formed in the core of a star, a little heavier than the sun, more massive than the sun, we may get to carbon with some nitrogen when our star finally goes to the big Diaru, or the big universe in the sky. It's already in the sky. However, we're looking at a location right now where we have a lot of the elements formed by the early universe. Look at this little guy right here. See that right there? That's a little tiny nebular chunk. It's got some hydrogen, but it's got a dark core. It's most likely one of these dark dust objects. Look at this one right here. See how that's got little staccato shape? You see a little tiny one there, a little guy here with a little stalk on it. Okay, These guys, the long stringy ones, not so much, but these small concentrations, these are among the most important places in the entire universe. And you know why? Because life began in the dark, guys. This is where it happened. For us, we were in a nebula much like this one at some point, and it dispersed, and we dispersed from our home, our cradle, so to speak, our cosmic cradle. And it was a place where we had lots of this dark dust, because the dark dust that's in here also contains not just carbon, not just silicon, but many other elements. And this became the building blocks of planets. And so when we see little areas like this, where there's little focuses, okay, in the slang, focused areas of dark dust, these are tiny globules that are going to become either stars or stars and planets later. Now, Bart J. Bach, an American astronomer, who was actually one of my professors when I was getting my degree for a period of time, Bart Bach had become famous by finding these Bach, and that's spelled B-O-K, Bach globules. If you look up Bach globule in Google, you'll find reference to Bart and all of his findings. And he was an imposing man. He was a very tall man, very big. Not heavy, but big, very tall and big in stature. And of course, I was thinking, this is the great Bart J. Bach in front of me. And I basically just was so tickled that he was actually our professor on loan. It was so much fun, you know. So this particular object then exemplifies all the things that Bart J. Bach found with these Bach globules. You see them in here. And these are areas that, again, there may be a star here in the future. And what we do is when we take photos, we actually go back and compare our previous photos with our current photos and see, which is particularly why I'm doing this now. This is a bit of research. I'll come back at some point and see if any one of these Bach globules are now gone and there's a star in its place. Now, it'll be a protostar. It won't be a full-blown star, but it will shine with its own light. So you're actually participating in some research right now today. Okay. So this is the upper part of it too. This is the part facing down toward the center cluster that is illuminating this entire nebula with its ultraviolet radiation. So there it is. 43, I think that's good for now because I was just a big mouth and talking the whole time. But this is really one of the coolest objects out there. All right. So say goodnight to this one for now, but don't forget, it's at skytourlive.org. Ding, ding, ding. And you'll be able to download this in just a few minutes. All right? So let's get out of this. I hate doing this because it's so beautiful. All right? And that's kind of like a color-free one because it's practically black and white. Okay. So there we go. And let's see, Bob, who's a C&D boy, he says, I thank Mark and my teachers and Admiral Neighbor growing up teaching navigation by the stars. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if I'm out alone at night in the woods and it's clear, I can't get lost. I know where I am. I know which way to go. I know which way to turn to get to land. Or, well, sorry, I'm on land. To get to a potential civilization. Because I can figure out the latitude by looking in the sky, latitude and longitude, knowing the time, of course. And then I can move on to something that we can actually use as like a rescue. Okay. Now let's see. I'm going to bring us up here, and I am going to go over here. And that's the California. I want to do, not doing that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, welcome to Valentine's Day. And here we go. This is a constellation that is on the, right there. Let me just actually see exactly where it is. It's pretty, Yeah, it's actually on its way down, but we're going to be able to see it. So we're going to have to switch back around to the north. This, where we're going to go now, this is called the Heart Nebula. And the Heart Nebula is, of course, for Valentine's Day. So for all of you people out there celebrating Valentine's Day, ah, yeah. And right next to it is the Soul Nebula. We'll be able to check out a little bit of that too, I think. But this is the square, that red square is the size of our field. So we're looking at a very, very small area. All right, which is okay. Now what I'll do is once we get into the middle here, I will do this first. Here we go. And we're coming in now. There we are. Okay, so now here we are. Let me figure out exactly where I'm looking here. And once I do that, oh yes, we want to be right in the center. You can see the heart. You see it right there? Dun-ta-da. Okay, and if you look here, you'll notice that now we are right side up. Okay, so we should see this just like that. Let me see if I can pick a star in here. If I can pick a star, let me pick that. I'm going to pick a star. There we go. Alright, so that's the star. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell it to plate solve and sync directly to that star, which it did. And you're going to see it just move briefly. Whoop. There it goes. There we go. Okay. So now we're in the center, and this is this cluster in the center, okay, that we see right there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move us up a little bit. I'm going to move us right to about here. Okay, so we're going to go right here. All right, there we go. All right, maybe a little more. Let's do this right here. All right. Okay. Okay. Telescope will stabilize in just a moment. Here it goes. All right, and now we'll grab ourselves some stars. There's plenty in here to look at. And perfect. That's a good guide star. We'll grab a guide star, let it stabilize, and then we're going to make our way into the heart of the Heart Nebula. This is our Valentine's Day object for tonight. All right, so let's do this. We have our guide star, and so we're going to now come in here and do a 45-second exposure. Here we go. Again, down there in the lower right, you can see down here, this is our progress bar. All right. The Asterian Foundation sign's a little bit in the way, but you know, we can kind of move it up a little bit, I guess, but let's take it up out of the way a little bit so you can see that. There we go. Nice. We can always bring the other stuff up to show you if we had to. All right. So now we are about 12 seconds from our first image. And I'm going to fit the height in here as well. Okay, 1 second away. And there it is. Oh, yes. Look at that. That's a beautiful, beautiful nebula. It's the center of the heart. What I need to do is I'm going to move it over a little bit. So let me do that right now. We're almost there. We're almost perfect. So what I'm going to do is move it over. So we're going to bring it over here. So I think that means this way. Yep. Okay. Oh, what was that? Okay. Let me get rid of that. All Alright, so that's over here. And let's move it down a little. Yeah, down. There we go. And then over here a little more. Okay. This will show us that beautiful core just perfectly. And that's what we want. So for all you Valentines out there, this is going to be the heart of the Heart Nebula. And away we go. Here we go. Okay, guide star is nice and brilliant and fine, and this is a visual. This doesn't help. The camera doesn't see that. That's for us. Okay, now we're gonna do a 45-second shot again, and we'll jump right into our live stack because I know this is gonna work. Hello, Kate. How are you? Happy Valentine's Day to you. Ronald's with us, ERRT Radio. Ronald, one of our phenomenal contributors to SkyTour Livestream. Had his own personal tour of the observatory out here in Benson. He was standing in that building with us because he lives in Benson now. He wanted to move out to be around the telescope he donated money for us to buy. And we're still working on your plaque, Ronald, because we promised you a plaque. You're welcome, Bob. All right, here we go. The first image now. There it is, much better. Well placed. Look at that. Okay, so this is the heart of the Heart Nebula. This is where the beating takes place. Not like beating as in beating up, but beating of the heart takes place. Okay, these stars in the middle are hot, and they're actually causing the glowing hydrogen to actually emit the red light that we see. Now this is the first frame. Notice it kind of looks kind of rough, and that's because of the fact that we have to get rid of the noise, and to do that we stack. When we see a second one, we're going to get rid of half the noise. So watch, when you see a 2 here, watch how much better this gets. Ready? Okay, now you already see more detail in here from the previous one. And the interesting thing is that when you look at stacking objects like we're doing here, if you double the number of frames that you're stacking, you cut the noise in half. That's sort of a standard. So if you take 1 frame, the noise is lousy. Take 2 frames, you have half the noise from 1 frame. All right. So when you go to 4, you have half the noise of 2 frames, and so forth. So you can see that the more frames you take, you get sort of a return, but it's less and less of a return. So we just did 3 now, and you can already start to see some details in here. Look at this. Details that we didn't see before. I'm going to do a color correction, and you can see that it brings the red out a little more. We're taking our red, green, and blue curves, which are down here on the bottom there, right here, and we're lining them up under each other, and this white curve is the average. This is an area of the black curve. Okay, if we move it to the left, we include much more additional outer light that's in it, and if we move it in here, we're isolating just that material. If we move this in, then we're doing something called a push, and we bring in the noise back, but allows us to see the data it's in there. Now if I go way out, okay, we can go all the way to seeing just stars, but the idea is that as we stack more objects, notice how we don't see a lot of noise in here? Well, we want to bring this close enough so that we can just barely see noise. Like there, we just barely see noise. And that's at 4 frames. By the time we're at 10 frames or 8 frames, we'll be able to take this and bring it in even closer, because the image will support it at that point. But I kind of play fast and loose with that. It's not something written in stone. Yeah. Yeah, Ronald says, no worries on the plaque. Just make sure to spell my last name right. Oh, yeah, it's Tolttrvar. Of course. No, it's not. It's Tolvtvar. No kidding. You try and pronounce it. Even he doesn't know how to pronounce it. Ronald, what is your heritage again? Is it Norwegian? Swiss? All right, we got 5 frames now, so we have half the noise of 2.5 frames. Ronald, tell me your heritage again. Danish. Okay. Danish. Hey, can we have Greenland? I was in Copenhagen for a short time when I was going to Norway. When I was in Norway, okay, I was able to speak in Lunda, Norway. I was able to speak in Bergen, Norway. I spoke in Bergen, Lunda, and where else? Come on. I spoke in 3 spots. Oslo? Maybe Oslo. I don't remember. Donald, yes, the wide view scope is up and running. I just you saw my TikTok post probably about it. Oops, where'd it go? I think you saw my TikTok post about it. And it is up and running. However, one of the problems is that there's a breaker out there, and we're actually we've gone past the capacity of the breaker, and so we have to change a breaker, and then it'll be perfectly fine. It was running just fine up until yesterday afternoon. And then it just popped the breaker, and so now we couldn't get to it. But it's all beautiful. Oh, it runs great. I know you want to see it. So do I. Yeah. Well, I post on Facebook as well, not just TikTok. I'm not that big a fan of TikTok, but people use it. Of course, thanks for answering the question. Yeah, so look at you can see these billowy clouds of hydrogen. Now, they look like clouds like you see in the sky, except they're red. But just like the clouds you see in the sky, as you get closer to them, they become much more diffuse, and you can't really see their borders. On Earth, when you're in a cloud, you just see white, and then when you're out in a commercial plane, the border is the border of a cloud is around 40 to 50 feet thick, so it gets increasingly less dense as you leave it. All right, and but from a distance, we only see that sharp edge on a cloud. We think it's sharp edge. It's not. It's even more than that, maybe 100 feet in density changing, but from a distance it looks really sharp edged. Okay, same thing here. You look at these clouds here, and it looks like you can walk up to them and kind of see their edges. If you were that close, you wouldn't even know you were in the cloud, because these clouds, unlike Earth clouds, are nowhere near the density. Remember what I talked to you about the density of Earth clouds and the Earth atmosphere? 10 to the 19th atoms per sugar cube square. These clouds have anywhere from 30 atoms per sugar cube to 30,000 atoms per sugar cube, and that ain't a whole lot of atoms, believe it or not. Sounds like a lot, but when you have 10 to the 19th atoms in a regular air that you breathe every day, you realize it's not a lot of atoms in a cloud like this. So the really dense clouds can have about 30,000 atoms in a cubic centimeter or a sugar cube. So obviously, obviously it's important to figure out the densities of the interstellar medium. And so that's why when you got closer and closer to this cloud, you probably wouldn't even see the red, because the atoms are so spaced out apart that you would lose sight of the red. You'd see it when you're heading for it right now. Here we come, we're coming toward it. But as you got closer and closer to it, it would sort of get diffuse and go away. And you'd wonder, am I in it? And you'd be looking around, and only through analysis of temperatures and so forth would that make a difference. So you'd actually then see it and say, hey, I'm in the middle of it. Give you an example of not understanding some things. We all know the Pleiades, the seven sisters. You can count seven sisters, right? We have Atlas and Pleione, Alcyone, Merope, Electra, Tegeta, Maya, and so forth. And the thing is, when you look at the Pleiades, you see this dust around it. It's like a blue dust, right? Well, that blue dust is interesting because the stars are moving in one direction and the dust is moving in a whole different direction. So what's happening is the stars are just passing through a dust cloud. Well, it turns out that dust cloud, and this is research that's ongoing right now, so we can't say this is absolutely true, that dust cloud might extend all the way to Earth. Now, the Pleiades are 444 light years away, roughly. Okay? And when you look at galaxy images, you see those dark lanes in the galaxy, like the Andromeda Galaxy and so forth. They're many thousands of light years in length. So it's not at all unthinkable to think that we have been looking out at the universe through a dust cloud, and we just never knew it. And that's one of the theories right now under consideration, is that maybe the same dust the same dust cloud that we're looking at the Pleiades through, we might also be looking out of it ourselves. So that's kind of interesting. Really kind of cool. Yeah. So you can start to see this detail now showing up. Now that we're here, I can pull this in a little more because the detail will support it. Look at that. Wow, let's drop that down. Bink, get down. Bring it up, and let's do this now. Look at that. That's beautiful. Yeah. So for all you Valentine's Day people out there, this is the heart of the Valentine. Ronald's asked if we can get a larger breaker. Yep. We can. The main electrical line, though, was disrupted by water leakage, and that's something beyond us. And so we have to wait for that to get repaired, then we can come off that, and then we won't have that problem anymore. Wow. JCO, what's going on, brother? Nice to see you. Let's see if this will give us the name. Heart Nebula. Yeah, we'll set that as the... Okay. Save. Set the target. We did that, right? Yep. Now we'll save an image with annotations. There we go. And then we can start to save the image. This is 17 images saved. And by the way, guys, thank you for coming back to the stream after the stream was killed. I don't know why it died, but we're back. Yeah. Nora's Ancestry says, I missed your question about whether you're from Norway. Your answer if you said it. I don't know if you did. Maybe you did. I missed it. Sorry. Yeah, this looks really pretty. And let me see if I can get a little more contrast out of this. Let's take this and move it in a little bit. Oh, yes. Look at how beautiful that looks. Thank you, Lori. Nice heart with an arrow through it. Hey, look. Here's the arrow. Yeah, the arrow was like 8 light years long. Whatever. 10 light years long. Ronald says, I like it when you can show both scopes. Yo, I know, me too. I do love that. And we will. Actually, the future of that scope is that it's going to end up in this building too, probably. And we're going to have a third in there. So Nora's answer says, oh, no, just my grandfather. Oh, okay. Thank you. Just your grandfather's okay. So we're going to have a spectrograph in here. We're going to have this telescope. And maybe the Sonoran telescope will be here. And we also have potential for another observatory. And that's still a very, very likely potential for us. That would be a telescope sitting at 7,500 feet under some of the darkest skies in the country. Slightly darker than both of the sites that we're at. And you can see what we get for gorgeous images here. So I'm working on that. Bob, thank you for putting those up. Judy M, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. I have seen the Norwegian starry skies. When I was doing talks over there, I drove from Oslo to Bergen. It was actually a 6-hour drive. But I wanted to do that rather than fly to Bergen because I wanted to see literally every single thing you see it's like Game of Thrones. Everywhere you look, it's Game of Thrones. Okay? It is absolutely amazing. Yes, Ronald, there's snow at 7,500 feet when there isn't snow at 1,000. Yes. You're right. Now, for those joining us, and who like what we do, it is all free, yes, and you can even get the raw images like here for free. But if you want some of the more highly processed images, or you just want to get some stuff that have our images on them, you can go to our Etsy store. And Bob, C&D Boy, has put that up. It's very kind. Thank you. And you can join a Patreon, and I think with $10 a month and above, you actually get 4 fully processed photos from us each month. And you'll have access to that directory, so you can just go download them. And then, if you... I think we just had a drift. We did. Let me see if I can unstack that. Oh, good. I saved it. With no time to spare. We lost our guiding. It just made you saw the tracking. It was looking awful. Yeah. So we got it back. Let's make sure we're there. Yep. A wind gust blew it away momentarily, but we brought it back. Good. So anyway, if you want to join us in a more serious way, consider joining our Patreon right there. It can be $5 a month. It doesn't matter, I think you can even name your own support cost if you want. But at $10, you get, and starting at $10 up to $100. Believe it or not, we have $100 and $200 members. We don't have a lot of Patreon subscribers, just a handful, but they're wonderful people that help us out. Okay, but at $10 a month, you actually will get 4 fully processed images. So you get images like this at full size, fully processed. And I think one of the things is, I think what I need to do is offer some of our products to you for joining the Patreon at higher tier levels, because right now I haven't done that, and I probably should. It probably should. And I'm more than happy to do that. If you guys are interested in that, I will do that, and we'll get a supply of things to give out at the $10 level and so forth. You know, it's not like a TV telethon where for $300 we'll send you a T-shirt. What? Come on, a T-shirt for $300? Jeez, that's 10 T-shirts, that are very expensive each. So, but we will send you something. We've got mugs, Skythroat mugs, which have some of these objects on them. We have T-shirts, which are beautiful. Either way, if you're interested in any of those things, let us know, and we'll make them happen. It's sort of a poll. I don't know how to do polls in the YouTube channel because I'm doing 100 things at once doing this. But I'd like to do a poll saying, would you guys like product as well when you join the Patreon? I don't think anyone wouldn't, but you never know. Just a thought. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, we've got 25. That's a good number. So we're going to save that right there. All right, save exactly as seen. How nice. All right, so this is the Heart Nebula. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there. And let's go see what else we can do. I think we have one more that's pretty cool here. And this one's called the Soul Nebula. Now, it's called the Baby Nebula. It looks like the Star Child from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Here's the head, the mouth, okay, the hands and the feet, the little embryonic tail. So this is kind of cool. And so what I'll do is, let's see if we can maybe go here and pick out that one section. That might be cool. So there we go. You'll see the crosshair show up, and I'll bet you that's correct. We'll find out as it moves its way in. Here we go, and we'll take a new snapshot, grab our star to guide, and off we go. Perfect star, almost. Okay. We don't like flat top curves because it means it's too bright. So what I can do is, let's do this. I'm going to take this down to 1 second and knock off half a second. See if we can get that peak down. And we did. There we go. Oh, that's better. That's better. Okay, good. So now what we'll do is we'll try here to do a 35-second shot here, and this is the Baby Nebula or the Soul Nebula. We have heart and soul. All right, heart and soul. That's right, Carl. Okay, let's bring in our beautiful stacking algorithm. Let's redock it so that it's attached to our screen. I mean, I really like this stuff. This is so much fun. And I love watching your eyes light up figuratively when you see something cool. There we go. Oh, that's going to be a perfect one. Let's drop the overprocessing one down. And let's back this out a bit. Okay, and we're still guiding here. That's good. We have one primary star we're guiding on, and we got secondary, tertiary, and quaternary, etc. stars that are serving as a guide. So this is another nebula, and it's a vast nebula. In the wide field system, this nebula is almost entirely in the view. Not entirely, but almost. And we will work on getting that breaker fixed. Yeah. Hey, Ronald, you see what Bob says? You look 10 years younger living in Arizona. Way to go, brother. That's true. Okay, this is Soul Nebula detail. I'll type that in. Let's do this. And let's color correct. There we go. Those reds really jump out at you, don't they? So let's consider that we're looking right here. Okay, so I'm gonna just grab that, and that'll be where we will center on. And we are actually down as low as it goes here for this particular location, and that's fine. Let's go and look at. Let's do this. Let's try. Where's Thor's helmet now? How far? Elevation. Ah, good. Thor's helmet is a good location. Excellent. That'll be next. So, this is a stellar nursery. This is where stars are born. And the stars born here can live anywhere from a few million years to a couple billion years, depending on what they were born as. Okay, if they were born very massive, they're going to live a few million years, and they might be O-type stars or B-type stars. Remember, the spectral types we have are O, B, A, F, G, K, and M. They go from the hottest and bluest O stars to the coolest and reddest M stars. And the interesting thing is, O stars come into existence, they only live a few million years, and then they go supernova. So O stars have come into existence for 13.8 billion, 13.4 or so billion years. Okay, and so they've been littering the universe for billions upon billions upon billions of years. So that's why we have so much dark stuff and so much nebulae out there being illuminated, so many different elements, so many materials to make planets. In the early universe, there wasn't a whole lot of material to make planets. So no planets really existed when the universe first formed. It took lots of stars dying and filling the interstellar medium with all the basic building blocks of planets and life to be able to make it so that we would end up, being able to exist here or anywhere. So that said, the O stars will only live a few million years. However, at the other end of the spectrum are the cool M stars. Now, they're by cool we mean they're about 3,000 Kelvin on their surface, or even about 5,000 degrees, 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Our sun's about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface. So if we look at that and we look at the temperatures of those red stars, they're so small in diameter, like they might be about an eighth of the size of the sun. Okay, an eighth the size of the sun, and the sun's not a big star. And they also have, among these stars, they're the most populous star in the entire universe. There's more of those stars out there than no others. Okay, no other spectral class of stars is in higher population than the M stars. That said, these M stars are stars, again, very cool, but they also have more planets around them than any other stellar type. And so, but the problem with M stars is they tend, as they're very young, when they're very young, they tend to be what are called flare stars. And as they get older, they still maintain and still do give off flares, solar flares. And solar flares, of course, are not a good thing, because depending on where you're trying to live around your star, a solar flare can wipe out your atmosphere or wipe you out. So solar flares are kind of tough, you know. But that said, there are more planets around M stars than any other type. And it's interesting that you can't even see a single M star with your eye. You have to use a telescope to see them, because they're so tiny and so small that they're like little percolators in the universe. Now, here's another secret. M stars are so long-lived that the very first M star in the universe that ever existed, all right, has not yet died. Isn't that cool? Yeah, that's true. 1 second. We're back. Yeah, so the very first M star in existence in the universe has not died yet. And they don't go supernova. They will expand into little red giants and then shrink down to white dwarfs. That hasn't happened for any M stars yet. And the reason is because they're such slow evolvers that they live trillions of years. Okay, they survive for trillions of years. A star like our sun, 10 billion years. We're halfway through. 10 billion years. Okay? Stars like the belt of Orion stars, they live several million years, and then they're going to go all supernova. Okay? Betelgeuse is a star that used to be a bright blue star. Hottest type of star in the universe. It was probably an O star. A very, very hot O star. Well, now it's a red supergiant, because as it ran out of hydrogen, it started to expand, and now it's this gigantic, tenuous, massive red ball. It's so big that if you put it where the sun is, its radius might reach Jupiter's orbit. That's how big. So it's hard to think of stars that big, but that's a sphere too. So you got to do it all the way to the other side of the sun and make it a big ball. Outrageous. And Terry's about a similar thing. Yep. C&D Boy says Captain Kirk dated Marta from Orion. Yeah. She was the green. Yeah, she was green. That's right. I can see that. Spock, I've got to meet that girl. Captain, I recommend you stay on the bridge. I can't, Spock. I have to meet her. That never happened. I'm making that up. Yeah. The Orion slave girls were green, which is kind of interesting, because the Orion slave girls in the science fiction being green are a color that doesn't make any sense, actually, for a skin color, which I think is kind of wild. Yeah, so here is the middle of this. We have 17 done here. Let's see if we can overprocess and see what else is in here. Well, you can see it's got some pretty good density in here. There's some neat, interesting convolutions over there. Let's see if we can pull those out. Yeah, probably gonna pull this out by doing this, and maybe just a little bit of this. Oh yeah, look at that. Wow. That's just beautiful. Okay, we're going to save this. We're going to jump to the other side of the sky in a few moments, and we're going to see another object, which is really cool. Oh yeah, the half black and half white. That's right. Let This Be Your Last Battlefield was the name of that episode in Star Trek. And is Frank Gorshin, who played the Riddler on Batman, and another guy who I didn't know. But Kirk said, "You are the same." And the Gorshin character said, "No, don't you see? he's black on the left side. I'm white on the left side, or whatever. And it's like, because of the color differences, swapped colors, that was enough for, the racism there. It's funny because that whole episode was a study in racism. And for a 1969 show, that was way ahead of its time. Captain Kirk also kissed Uhura, a black woman, in the episode Plato's Stepchildren, where they were forced to do a dance and he was forced to kiss Uhura, being controlled by Parman, the leader. Well, no, I'm not a nerd. I don't know all this. No. Yes, I do. I'm sorry. And they ended up kissing on screen, which was something that was unheard of at the time. Today, it's no big deal. I never thought it was a big deal to begin with, but today it's not a big deal. Back then, it was unheard of, and so when they did it on screen, it made tons of waves through the network. You can't do that. Even as a kid, I never understood why. So it made no sense to me, whatever the objections were. I think that's pretty cool. Then Ronald says, I didn't think much about his Raisin Bran commercial. The Raisin Bran commercial was what you do with a 90-something-year-old guy, okay, who can't do things like he used to. And he is Canadian. That's correct, Cindy. Bob says it correctly. He is Canadian. Yep. Yeah. So I thought that was funny, and flinging Raisin Bran out to people like that was very, very funny. And hey, I'm pretty sure that Gene Roddenberry, in all his wisdom, was, someone that wanted to break down barriers, and he did. Look at this now. You can see this beautiful bluish cast on this dark nebula. What that is the light from some of the stars in here is actually reflecting off the dust, and the light is blue. And the star's light is in part blue, right? You have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And for a red star, like a red supergiant, you have a lot more red than you do blue, right? Maybe no blue. And then for young stars like the sun, you'll have a smattering of all the colors. And then, but the stars that are young and hot typically are more blue than they are any other color. So in a nebulae like this dust is exactly the right size so that the red wavelength can pass sort of through it unimpeded, but the blue light can be absorbed and re-emitted. Okay, that absorption and re-emission is called scattering. And in the case of this bluish tint right here, and wherever we see it in nebulae, it's called Rayleigh scattering, and it's because of small grains of dust that are reflecting back the blue light that they absorb. So they absorb and emit the blue light in all directions. Believe it or not, it's the same thing and the same reason that our sky is blue. The molecules absorb just the blue light and re-emit it in all directions. If they absorbed all the light and re-emitted it in all directions, our sky would be white. Okay? But it's not. It's blue because of the particular way that certain atoms absorb and re-emit light. And blue, being a very, very short, high-frequency wavelength, is one that dust and particles in our atmosphere and molecules are specially tuned to. So there, now you know. So there we go. All right, so we have 26. We're going to save it there. Save exactly as seen. All right. All right, so this object, again, available at skytourlive.org. Right after this, you can go check it out. Meanwhile, I am going to take us now to another item, another object that is really cool. And we'll do this. Let's do this here. Move it maybe a little bigger there. All right, we'll actually make it this way, so if I adjust the height or I add the stacking, it'll adjust accordingly. All right, heading back now. Let's go here. They're not going to go to an object called Thor's helmet, and this object is really neat. So let's do that now. The telescope has to flip all the way to the other side. As you can see, there it goes. All right, there it goes. It's on its way. Okay. There we go. All right. So let's come out here. Let's do this. And let's see just how close we are. All right, well, it knows where it is. Okay, we're not far away at all. There we are. You can see something right here, but it's kind of hard to see right now. But we'll get it. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to grab another frame here, show stars, and I'm going to drop this down. We got plenty of stars in here. And now we'll go and guide on one. That's good. It's got a good peak. Doesn't go beyond the top. It doesn't get flat. Excellent. Okay. So right now we have a nebula right here. I know you can't see it, but I talked about oxygen and the color it glows, and now I want to show you that color directly with this object. We'll do a 35-second shot here. All right, and then we'll go into our low light mode here. I'm sorry, our dark sky, deep sky mode, sorry. This is neat. So we are now looking at a nebula that's about to come up. And this nebula is one that is being caused by a star that is so powerful and has such high stellar winds that it's literally pushing its outer atmosphere away from the core. And that's what we're about to see. Okay. Beautiful. Look at that. This is called Thor's helmet. Now, the star doing it is right here. Okay. So this, let me grab this star here. This star right here is pushing and blowing bubbles around itself, and it's literally going out several light years in every direction. So that star you're seeing right there, you're looking at the remaining core of the star. Pretty much it. That's all. And the core of the star in here is the thing that's actually radiating the massive and copious amounts of energy outward. And this radiation going outward is something that is forming and shaping this nebula you see here. The thing that's interesting about this is this star now has basically an exposed core that we're looking at, okay? And this is all the envelope, the stuff that was around the star. In a star, only 15 to 20% of the star is actually doing the fusion process, which makes it so bright and that you feel on your face. All the rest is along for the ride, okay? But it's usually so hot that the electrons are forced away from the nuclei of the atoms in the outer part. And so we call that plasma, all right? And so when we see plasma, we know that the star is very hot, but the hottest part of the star is way in the interior. So the surface of the sun is hot at 10,000 Fahrenheit, but it's nothing like the 15 million Celsius, for instance, all right, or even more, 20 whatever, Fahrenheit, 20 million Fahrenheit that is in the center. That is something crazy. And so that cooler outer envelope is subject to whatever happens inside the star. These stars are special stars, and they have a special name. They're known as Wolf-Rayet stars. That's WOLF, and then Rayet, RAYET, named after Wolf and Rayet, the two individuals that found and figured out what's going on with these stars. And these particular stars are well known for their very, very high temperatures. They're the hottest stars in the universe. Okay, hotter than O stars. All right, now effectively they are O stars, but they're extremely hot, meaning you can actually have a star that's not like an O-type star that might be 50,000 Kelvin at its surface. Yes, that's a temperature scale. Okay, but this star might be 200,000. Now, why is that? Well, because we're not staring at the outer layers of the star, are we? We're staring at the outer part of the core of the star, and it's very, very hot there. So this is all the stuff that used to be around the star, and that would have brought its temperature maybe down to 50 or so 1,000 Kelvin. But instead, we're getting 200,000 Kelvin plus, even higher, because we're seeing this exposed core. All right, and of course, it's so hot and has so much ultraviolet radiation that it causes all the material in here to be ionized and glow. Okay, and the glow comes from the electrons being ionized and the electrons rejoining the atom, and when they come back into the atom, they give off light. And oxygen gives off this color that you see here. This is an oxygen nebula, right? There is some reddish nebula here. That's probably some hydrogen in here plus dust. Okay, so the star is blown off a lot of its outer layers. And we're going to let this one percolate for a while because it's really pretty. Now I'll actually drop that down so we can bring that up, so you can see it grow over here. That's what we do at Sky 2 Livestream, right? We take images and you literally watch them over time get better and better and better and better. I hope you like this stuff. Well, you wouldn't be here if you weren't. Yeah, C&D Bob says huge power. Yeah, massive power. And the thing is, we know that there's nothing living around that region right now. And the reason is, of course, because of the fact that this Wolf-Rayet star, it pumps out so much ultraviolet radiation, and it's blisteringly powerful. If you were exposed to this thing for a 10,000th of a second, you'd be fried all the way to your core. You'd be no surviving that. Literally 10,000th of a second is an eternity at that point. You can also see by looking at this that there's some irregularity. If this was supposed to be like a spherical, perfectly round sphere, then it should be perfect concentric spheres. It would be if the star didn't have differential forces operating on it, or if the star wasn't blowing material off into an interstellar medium where you see lots of dust, like here. Okay, and when these atoms of oxygen strike the dust, the temperature skyrockets, so you can have temperatures as high as 1,000,000 degrees out in this nebula out here. All right, and which can actually be hotter than where the star is. Okay, because of the fact that we have this shock wave of material coming out, and it's so blisteringly hot, and it hits dust over here, and the temperature increases dramatically through other forces that come into play. Rockstar's with us. Hey man, how's it going? Very nice. Here, let's see if I can color correct this a little better. Yeah, we're actually very close. You know, because we have a region here where we also have other nebulae around us. And so we see that nebulae around here. But this is just beautiful. This is a gorgeous thing. And if you shrink these nebulae down, okay, like this, you kind of see, in a weird way, you see more detail. But in our wide field scope, Thor's helmet is about that big and fills an image the size of this screen right here. But in this telescope, this is the size of our Thor's helmet, and we're only at 31% the size of the field. If we went to 100, okay, you'll see that we start to see some of the noise in here. And that noise, all right, that we're seeing, this is 97%. If we let this percolate for a longer time, a lot of this noise can go away, right? We can also move this guy way out, okay? And now you'll notice that the noise is almost gone, right? So it depends on, you know, the more images we stack, the closer we can bring this midpoint without having to suffer from noise. Okay? So that's kind of cool. That's kind of ominous looking right there, huh? So we have 15 stacks so far, but if I move this in, you can see that we get more and more and more noise. So by the time it gets all the way into here, well, now it's really noisy. You see all the noise in here, digital noise. You do see more stuff, yes, but you see a lot of digital noise. That's cool. All right, so I'll pull this down a little bit. Pull it to here. All right, and we're about to stack a 16th here. You can see the bubbles too. This is the star, and the star is blowing these bubbles. Sean, hey man. Haven't seen you for a while, Sean. So good to see you, man. You said, can you comment on 90.5 degrees? The Earth is rolling over or tilting. Are you talking about the geomagnetic shift? Pole shift? Let me know. Thank you so much for that donation. That's very kind. Sean's a cool guy. He comes in once in a while, and he's really cool. Yeah, let me know what you're saying, what you mean. Okay, so he's talking about the geomagnetic pole shift. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, let's talk about Earth for a minute. That actually makes sense. I was going to use this guy, but he's not a round Earth thing. It's like, okay. If we have a round ball, all right. Now the Earth's on a tilt, all right, but that doesn't really have too much to do with our magnetic field. Even if we were perfectly up and down, Earth rotating this way, we'd have our north magnetic pole to top, south magnetic pole to bottom. Now, we're on a little bit of a tilt, and we are wobbling. That wobble has nothing to do with the magnetic field per se. That's just like the wobbling top, okay? Probably from the primordial impact that spawned the moon. And so when the Earth is on a slight tilt, okay, that's why we have seasons. If we were perfectly up and down, like some of the other potential planets could be, well, we'd have all the same weather all year round for your particular latitude that you're in. I kind of like that. That would have been cool. You know, I live in Connecticut, so we might end up with, I don't know, we might end up with temperatures around 68 degrees year round. The equator would be blisteringly hot year round. It is anyway, but the South Pole and the North Pole would actually have sun at the same time during the year, because if it's like this, the South Pole is in darkness down here, okay, and the North Pole is in full light if the sun's that way. And then when they go around the other side of the Earth, the South Pole is in full light and North Pole has darkness for a few months. So the tilt of the axis has had a profound effect on our weather and our climate, right? So as far as the geomagnetic pole shift, this is something that's occurred about 80 times or so over our history. And it has nothing to do with the Earth flipping upside down. When they talk about that on the internet, you can basically say it's baloney, okay? And don't be afraid to. And you can tell them I said so. All right, blame it on me, and let them come after me, because sometimes people will say these ludicrous things, and maybe they really believe it. But the fact is, the Earth is not going to flip upside down. It never has and never will. All right. So that's not the issue. What's happening is our geomagnetic poles, their north and south orientation is defined by our core. And our core is a solid iron nickel core. And the outer core is molten. Okay? Molten iron and nickel. And they pass against each other as the outer core rotates around. All right? And as they rotate around each other, that generates electricity, which generates a magnetic field. Okay, so the Earth is a gigantic dynamo, all right, which is kind of neat. That said, that giant dynamo does shift around. Thank you, Sean. That is so cool. And as the dynamo, as the Earth core shifts and changes, well, that magnetic field, that north and south pole drift over time. And the magnetic north and south end up potentially flipping their orientation. I'll tell you this. We look in the fossil record, and we see absolutely no evidence that it's caused anything whatsoever on the planet. It's such a slow process. It occurs over thousands of years that life just gradually adapts to it and doesn't even know what happened. Okay? So there's no human alive that will be around when the pole is showing south on your compass anymore, or again. So that's something that just isn't going to happen. So geomagnetic pole shift in short, is just the shifting of magnetism on the Earth. It's not the shifting of the Earth itself. And there are people that think it's going to be a catastrophic, sudden thing, and that's just because, and I'll just say it this way, they're not. It's incorrect. Okay, it's not that they're ignorant people, but they just watch the YouTube video, and the ignorant people doing the YouTube video actually made them doubt what they probably knew in their heart was right, and that the Earth doesn't flip upside down. I was actually arguing with a guy. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy. He said, when the Earth flips upside down, there's going to be this tremendous force, and you're going to get ripped off the face of the Earth. I'm like this. I'm like, twitching. I think, like Inspector Dreyfus and Clouseau. Kill him. So it's actually kind of funny hearing this kind of talk, because there's no real chance of that ever happening. It never has happened. It never will happen. So we just have a shifting pole. It's migrating. Now, I've said it's possible that we're in the middle of a pole shift right now, because it is drifting. It's moving several degrees a year. All right. A year, by the way, a year. And birds navigate with a magnetic field, so won't they go into a wall? No. What's happening is they're slowly adapting. Every time they go on migration, they adapt to what is changing. And so their patterns may change slightly, but it's not going to change it's not going to change where they end up. They're not going to end up going to the wrong place. They're just going to modify their behavior to get to the same place. And that's what's been happening. And that's why in the fossil record, we don't see sudden deaths due to pole shift. As I said, it's happened like well over 180 times. I can't remember the exact number. And when it happens, it's not on a regular scale. And when people say we're overdue for a pole shift, no, we're not. If it was on a regular schedule, then maybe we could say that, but we don't have a regular schedule. Sometimes it doesn't happen for hundreds of thousands of years, and then we get 3 in the course of 5,000, 10,000 years, 10,000 years. Okay, so it's not a regular thing. It's sort of like a ever-changing schedule. There's no pattern to it. If there was a pattern, we could predict it, but there's no pattern to it. So geomagnetic pole shift is not something to worry about. Planes aren't going to fall out of the sky and suddenly not have GPS. That's all the stuff you hear on ignorant YouTube channels, to be honest. So don't buy into it. You want the answer? Ask me. I'll tell you. I speak from science, and science doesn't care what you believe. You can use that. Look at this. Look at the detail showing up in here now. We have currently 31 stacked. Remember the first one had all that noise in it? Now look at how crisp and clear this is starting to look. This is really, really nice. Wow. Let's see if we can pick out some more. Let's see if we can bring this in, pull out more detail. Let's see what that looks like. Wow. This is a beautiful object. Thor's helmet has never looked so good. Sean said, so you don't have to worry about Nuremberg raining down from above. No, you don't. Hey, I'm almost Tasik. How you doing? Welcome to the Sky Tour. Have I seen you before? Prow's with us. Hey, Prow. Sorry I missed you earlier. Kevin O'Neill. Hi, Kevin. Nice to see you. Sean, thank you again for the donations. It's very kind. It goes to everything that we do. I don't take a paycheck for any of this. Who could? Look at this universe. Who could take a paycheck for this? I mean, come on. This is so cool. If you guys watch History Channel, make sure you see me on History Channel. The proof is out there. I just got signed to season 6 and got my packet of cases to look at. And I'll be doing it and then moving forward and doing it on the show. So I've been doing this for 6 seasons now. This is amazing. It's amazing they have all the interest out there. I'm very, very happy about that. Thank you, Sean. Very kind. Star Traveler, how you doing? You think what that guy was talking about is the Earth crust displacement theory? Oh, that's a different theory altogether. But he said that was correct when I asked him. I thought he was talking about geomagnetic reversals, but he wasn't apparently. Maybe not. Thank you, Michael. Season 6 is going to be awesome, yeah. Yeah, they can't do everything with me all at once. They have to come over 2 separate times. Because I end up with, they once told me that I get the most cases to analyze in that show. I didn't know that until I was told that, and I was like, really? Oh, like in the movie 2012. Uberku. Hey, Uberku, I forgot to say hi to you too. Sorry, man. I saw you say something before. Yeah, the, what was that crustal displacement theory? I remember that. That's something that's not something that can actually really happen. Because what people have to understand is that the solid crust, is sitting above the mantle. But it's bonded to the mantle. It's not like it slips and slides over the mantle, So we can't get massive displacement without involving the entire mantle, which is thousands of miles deep in our planet. So, and it's not like it's an instant change. It's like the crust gets hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter until suddenly it's acting more like a plasticky, melted plastic a type of ground mass, if you want to call it that. And so that's something that we just you can't ever expect that the crust is going to suddenly move separate from the mantle. It's not separate. It is the mantle. It's just the cooled part of the mantle that's highest in the Earth's diameter. You know, Ronald, I run the photo analysis team for the Mutual UFO Network. That's true. So I think if that makes sense about crustal displacement theory, it says it relies on the massive buildup of ice in the poles, and the Earth wobble, and they rotate the entire crust. At least that's okay. Yeah. Here's like I said, the reason that can't actually physically happen, and it's never happened, is because, as I said, the crust is the mantle. It's just the cooled part on the surface. All right, so it's all one cohesive blob. It's not like you can whip the top layers off. The model, the way people think about that model, is wrong. The tectonic plates do move. That's correct, Laurie, and they move, but they're all part of the mantle. All right. So when you look at the crustal plates, that they have a deep mantle. The crustal plates will move over the mantle, but slowly, all right? And it's not like they're glued to it permanently. They do slide over it, all right? But they can't suddenly shift on top of the mantle because they are bonded to the mantle, but not, let's just say, how do I say this in a way that makes sense? They're bonded to the mantle, but they're not free to move over the mantle. Okay, yet they do slide over the mantle because we have mantle hotspots which protrude, and as the crustal plates move over the mantle, those hotspots make new areas like the hydrothermal vents on the bottom of the ocean. Okay, so whereas we know the crustal plates are moving over the mantle in the way that they do, they're an outgrowth of the mantle too, so they're not separate from the mantle. The mantle gradually gives way to the crust, and then the crust kind of shears across that part of the mantle and allows these hot spots to come up and pull up magma from deep beneath and make hot spots. That's why we see island chains in the oceans, is because those island chains were where a hot spot in the mantle is. Okay, and thanks for reminding me to mention that, Lori, because I might have been giving people the wrong impression of how crustal plates work versus the mantle. But the way the mantle is heated is from the internal pressures and temperatures at the core radiating outward, and the temperature gets cooler and cooler as it gets further out. Okay, now you can actually, if you were to be able to drill a hole into the earth, just a hollow hole, and if you could drill a core down into the earth and get into the mantle, you'd notice that the deeper you go, the hotter it gets, but the higher the pressure gets in the rock strata around you. So the pressure of the overlying mass also increases the temperature. So a lot is going on at the same time, all right? But you can't get to a point, for instance, where you can drill down into the mantle. Let's say you put a pipe down there. Let's say you put a pipe all the way down into the mantle. Over time, you'd notice that your pipe is kind of being sheared to one side because the crustal plate is moving and is taking it with it. But you're not getting any dynamic, immediate movements, all right? Because the mantle and the crust are connected to each other. But the crustal plates are like the skin on top of a cooling molten metal, right? That skin can be migrated, but it is attached to the underlying areas, right? So it's not a perfect model, but that displacement can't actually happen that way, right? Yes, the crustal plates migrate over the mantle, that's true, but they're not separate from the mantle. They are the mantle. They're an outgrowth of the mantle, a cooled portion, and they are separate enough that they can ride over the hot spots on the mantle, so you can get those traveling hot spots. Yellowstone Basin, for instance, is an example of that. The Yellowstone caldera currently is not in the same place it was when the caldera blew up in the last supervolcano episode. Okay, so it's miles away because the crustal plate is migrating and moving. All right, so that means that we'll see, and you see these different calderas in Yellowstone. You see the different spots where the caldera was, and it's in a line, roughly, because that's the direction the plate is moving over the mantle. But they are bonded to each other, but not mated to each other. Okay, I should say, they're not permanently mated to each other. The crustal plate can move over the mantle. I think it was NASA's Unexplained Files. I actually did a model showing this for the show. That show wanted me to make physical models, and that was great because I could actually make representative models. Earth Radio. Ronald says, wasn't Russia going to try to drill a hole to the center of the Earth? Not to the center, no. But they did drill a hole that was quite deep. And the problem is, we only have mastery of materials to a certain level. And so when we were drilling, trying to spin a drill from miles away, you're spinning the drill up top here, right? And the drill head down below hasn't even started to spin yet because it's not all connected in a rigid pipe. It's a pipe that has flexure. It has a movement capability. So you're twisting up the pipe, and then the drill head down the bottom starts to move over time, maybe several minutes later. I don't know exactly what the timing would be. Depends on the engineering strength of the material. And then that thing would start to turn. But the problem is also that it was very hot down there. And when they got down into the deep part of the Earth, coupled with this long distance and the fact that it took more energy to turn that drill bit the deeper it got, it ended up reaching a point where they could not turn the drill bit anymore. And the drill bits sometimes would just get bonded into the ground. Okay, and that was that. Kathy has been here, and she's been lurking. I didn't see you out there, Kathy Pernisek. How are you? Thank you so much for the Valentine's Day donation. That's so sweet of you. That's KP. We know KP. Real sweetheart. Thank you, guys. That's wonderful. Let's see what we got here. Now we are up to 51. This is good because having this many, I'm going to save this. Having this many is a very good thing. Save exactly as seen. Well, there it is. Thor's helmet, Wolf-Rayet star right there, among the hottest stars in the universe. You're seeing basically kind of the exposed core of the star. This is all the stuff that was around it. Okay. Whenever we see exposed cores of a star, they're going to be hotter. When we see a white dwarf, well, a white dwarf is very hot too. They could be, 50,000 Kelvin in temperature. They're the size of the Earth. The neutron star, even hotter. They're the size of Manhattan Island, and they typically are spinning very rapidly. So there's a lot of stuff there that is unbelievable that goes on in the universe. I'm going to save this here, and we'll go to one more object. Let's see here. What can we do? Let's come out of here. Again, it's available at skytourlive.org on our Valentine's night special that we're doing tonight. Alright, so here we are. No hint that there's a nebula here. Alright, so let's come over here now. Zoom out. And the night wouldn't be complete without visiting the Orion Nebula. So we're going to come here and visit the quintessential amazing nebula in the night sky. So we should see that show up here in just a moment. Okay, so let's come over here. Okay, let's go fit the height. All right, so nebula is right here, and I'll just bring that up. I think that means... Hey, thanks, Cariago. Thank you so much. That's so kind. Thank you so much, man. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Let's bring this down. That's the other down. Telescope is now... Here we go. That's measure 43. Measure 42 is right behind it. Here it is. That's cool. Kathy says we spent yesterday afternoon chipping thick ice from our driveway. Oh, yeah. You must live. You must live in the real world of Ice World. That's what we do. All right, let's bring this up here. Glorious Astronomy. Happy Valentine's Day. All right, let's move this over. Mr. Django's with us. Hey man, how's it going? That's Steven Smet in Belgium. How you doing, Steven? Day is young for you, and the day is winding down for me. All right, so here is the Orion Nebula. We cannot show the entire thing. Ronald, quit bragging. That's not nice. Kathy doesn't need to hear that you have no ice down in Benson where we're viewing this from. You be nice. I can hear you laughing. Stop laughing. Okay. Ronald's okay, Kathy. He doesn't mean anything by it. Alive and kicking, man. Yeah, Glories says, better view than my 250p SynScan Dobsonian. Oh. Wow. Yeah, Mr. Jangles, you're actually, Mr. Jangle, Steven, you're up early. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, you had 35 years of it, Ron, or 25 years of it in Minnesota, where you used to live. Okay, we're going to take this picture. All right, we're going to just grab our guide star. Okay, let's do this again. It's not looking right to me. I don't like that. Okay, maybe if we change this. Mulder said, I want to believe. You're absolutely right. Let's do that. Let's see if that'll work. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. So we're going to come back down to 1 second again. Grab this. I just had to get our system back in listening to me because it wasn't listening for a while. This is good. This is a very good start. There we go. Right there. See, you got the point at the top. That's good. All right. All right. So now we're going to actually do just a 18-second shot of this object, because this object requires a ton of careful analysis. We're not going to be able to do this yet. Let me just do this. Let me grab this, clear this. We're good, and now we'll get our first image. This is gorgeous. Right now you say, wait, what happened? Well, what happened was we actually have a lot going on in here. So what I'm going to try and do is show it to you. Right, a lot of data. So we're going to take this and we're going to move our mid-level down to show more of what's inside. See that? Okay. And now you can see that. This is the core of the Orion Nebula. And let's do this. Let's color correct. That's more correct, yes. Now let's fit the height in here. We'll put this right there. So there's our whole field of view right there, guys, and that's really pretty. But that's the Orion Nebula, and even if you go way out here, you still see these outer areas of the nebula. It's really, really an amazing place. And so if we zoom in on this, okay, you'll see how much of the field we actually see. We're seeing just a little bit of it. You know, we don't even see everything down here. So there's an awful lot going on. Hello, hi Sherry, how are you? Glory says, fun fact, my favorite nebula in the Orion constellation is Messier 43, which is this one right here that Glory's Astronomy is talking about. Exactly. I did a study of just that location some time ago. It's really a beautiful location. There's a lot of detail in this nebula. Yeah. And one of the problems we have with this region is also we have satellites that go through here because Orion's sort of near the equator, so we end up getting satellites that come through here all the time. So we have to just ignore them. Yeah, so this, we can take this and move it kind of up near a peak. You can see how this black level works. If we come off the peak, especially here, we can see all this black dust here, and it kind of lays in front of the bright nebula behind it. And that's what you're seeing here, is you're seeing a tongue of dark dust between us and the brighter nebula behind it. Okay. Very cool. Alright, so we got 10 shots here. I'm going to make this the M42 detail. This is Messier 42, which is the Great Orion Nebula. So I'm going to save that. I'll save it again because we got the 11th one. Save exactly as seen. Okay. And now as a bonus object, we're going to go to another location right nearby. Those 4 stars are what power this nebula. It's called the trapezium. There's actually more than 4 stars in there. There's like 6 to 8 of them in there actually. Alright, so we're going to go back to a 1-second shot. See the satellites moving out. Alright, and we got that and this. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I am going to move us down, the other down, and I'm going to show you a new region here that's that we've seen before, but I think you're going to like. I'm sorry, I'm going this way again. I'm going to come down to an area that almost doesn't look like there should be anything there. Okay. A little more. Okay. Alright, we're going to move over a little bit. Okay. That should be good. So I'm going to show you specific doubly ionized oxygen areas along with hydrogen emission areas and how they overlap each other. Okay, and that's what we're going to see right here. I'm actually going to bring us down just a little more. That'll work. All right, so this is what we're going to look at, is this region right here. And you'll see, and this will be the last object for tonight, guys. But let's let's go to our guiding system and pull this in. And there we go. Let's get our guide stars. There we go. Good guide stars. Good guide stars. It is kind of like an arch. Oh, actually, what we're looking at, folks, this is kind of like a blister on a giant molecular cloud of dark dust. And it is indeed a stellar nursery, as Ronald says. Okay. It's about 1,300, 1,400 light years from us. So you're seeing it as it was 1,400 years ago. All right. And we're going to do a 35-second photo here. Well, it's not quite over yet, Ronald, but thank you. Yeah, Daryl's fine. I just haven't contacted him to do this right now. I mean, I have no problem with him. He's a great guy. But like I said, I only decided to do this last minute. Okay. All right, so here's what you're going to see. You're going to see this red and blue section. Look at that. This is beautiful. This is exactly what I wanted you to see. So let's drop this down, maximize it. Again, notice it looks a little grainy because we've only got like a single frame here. But look at the sharp border here. You see that? Isn't that something? Okay. And as we move forward, you'll see that this area right here, okay, this area right here is actually somewhat transparent. You can see red behind it. And that really shows you just what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. All right, so we have 2 frames now. And Steven Schmidt, Django, says, 3D printing is unbelievable. The pieces for all the new all-sky camera are fitting like a puzzle. Yeah, that's a really good idea, a really good thing to use. I do that all the time. I have a very high-end printer behind me that I bought for my model making company, and it prints in urethane resin. It's a urethane printer, and it's got a very big tray on the bottom that you can put stuff in and build in. It's wonderful. I've made parts for the telescope with it, yeah. The Garlago says, whoop whoop for Daryl being well. Yeah, of course, he's great. He's doing okay. We'll have him back in the stream in probably maybe the next stream we'll do it. It was a crazy day. I had to go babysit my son's daughter, and then I had to go babysit my other son's dog. So I decided last minute, I'm going to stream because I need it. Oh, Bamboo Lab is very good, Mr. Django. Yeah, the Bamboo Lab, that's like a multicolor filament printer, isn't it? Curtis Horn, welcome. You got here just in time. This is our last object. I'm showing everybody the oxygen and the hydrogen emission that we see in the Orion Nebula, and it points out again how tenuous this material is, because this stuff here is sitting in front of the hydrogen emission behind it, but you can see the red through it. It becomes very evident later as we get more exposures. Yeah. So here's that border of the oxygen. Actually, this is doubly ionized oxygen. So oxygen has more than one electron, just like uh, you know, any other element other than hydrogen does. Okay, and so if two of the electrons in the hydrogen atom are ionized, that means they leave the atom for a period of time. And when the electrons rejoin the atom, or a different oxygen atom that's been ionized, then we have a certain light that's given off by the electrons as they rejoin their atoms. The actual process is called recombination. With hydrogen, there's a number of places it can go. With oxygen, there's more places that the electrons can go when they come back. But the predominant location for two electrons coming back in will produce a teal blue light that you see right here. Okay, this is a teal blue light that is characteristic of doubly ionized oxygen. Hydrogen is very simple in a sense. Okay, it has its own major complexities, but hydrogen, when you ionize the electron and it leaves the atom, again, ionization comes from that trapezium, which is outside the field of view up here. Okay, that is really, really pumping a lot of ultraviolet energy into the electrons, which absorb it and leave the atom for a period of time, and then they come back in. And when they come back in, well, what they do is they end up giving off light, and the electrons that rejoin hydrogen atoms, the single electron coming back down into one hydrogen nucleus gives off a predominant color of red light. All right, that's called hydrogen alpha, or H2 as Roman numeral 2. Garlargo says, "I'm happy you're not testing me again on all those colors." Oh, I'm sorry. Not. You should know this. Yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah. So oxygen, teal blue, with its double ionization state, is recombined, and hydrogen, when its single electron is recombined, is red. So teal blue versus red. So two different colors, but it could be from the same star originally that liberated these materials, to answer Ronald's question about whether it's different stars. Because stars can have a variety of elements in them, including hydrogen. In fact, most stars will always have hydrogen in them. And most stars will probably have oxygen in them, because oxygen is the third most abundant element in the whole universe. Hydrogen is the most abundant. Okay. And carbon is the fourth most abundant, as I've said a lot. And that means that the love affair between carbon and oxygen stands to reason that the flexibility of the carbon atom will bring us more capabilities to foster life in a variety of ways. The carbon atom is the granddaddy of all elements in the periodic table, and a lot of this black dust that you see here has carbon in it. Both atomic carbon is a C, right? And molecular carbon, which is a C and a C. CC bonded together. You also have many other compounds and ices that are formed, and in the dark clouds, that's where this stuff exists. It's really an amazing universe out there. This is the detail, though, that I wanted you to see. This is just such a beautiful detail. Let's see if we can... first of all, let's redock this for now, so you can see the whole thing. And then let's change the contrast right to here. And now that we've got 13 of these, let's see if we can pull this in and get a little more detail. Yes. Oh, that's stunning. This brightness is from the trapezium up top, which is so bright that it illuminates the entire nebula. It may not penetrate into all the dark dust, though, and we know it doesn't. And the trapezium, the Orion Nebula, and all the dark dust around the Orion Nebula and all through Orion and other constellations like Monoceros and Lepus and the other constellations near it, these are all part of the OMCC, the Orion Molecular Cloud Complex. And molecular cloud means molecules of materials that could make planets and or life at some point. And the Orion Molecular Cloud Complex consists of a massive amount of material in a massive area within the galaxy where there's lots of dark dust and emission going on like this. When you look up at Orion, you'll notice the stars are very bright. That's because we happen to be close to it in the galaxy. All right? Good thing we're not very close, because those stars, when they go supernova, could wreak havoc on us if that was true. But luckily, we're okay. Donald Kunzer said, there's a moment in the travel segment of 2001 that looks just like that. Yeah, that's true. Well, as you know, my friend Douglas Trumbull did all those special effects for 2001. Unfortunately, the man passed away. We were very good friends. We worked together for a decade. And he actually used real-life imagery and stuff to build the Stargate sequence, which is what that was you're talking about, as well. And it was very, very cool. And the process was brand new to filmmaking at the time. And that was something that he was eventually, you know, his those techniques and others that he created got him an Academy Award. I've held that Academy Award. It's actually a real statue with gold plated. It's really cool. It's big too. It's a big thing, you know. It's a big giant thing. I was sitting in the office one time. He says, "Do you want to hold the Academy Award?" I went, "Really? Yeah, let me see it." He brought it out. He goes, "This is my award." You know, he was never a bragger or anything. He was such a self-deprecating guy. And I held it. I was like, "Wow, this is substantial." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "It is. It's pretty impressive." Yeah. So really cool stuff. We're gonna go to 20 on this, so we're at 19 now. Let's try to zoom in on some areas. Yeah, look at that. Wow. When you look at this, you can almost see in 3 dimensions how this looks. You can't really, but it does have that sort of look to it. Yeah, look at this. Man alive. This is something. This is something. Very impressive location. A lot going on here. A lot to see. You know, and down in the southern parts of the nebula, there's a lot of detail down here too. So much detail. I'll tell you one more thing too. The Orion Nebula is a location where the making of planets and so forth has taken place. And we've identified a strong possibility that there are rogue planets here. And rogue planets are planets that actually are not tied to a star. I mean, with all this dust out here, you can imagine that if you don't have a lot of hydrogen, but you have a lot of planetary building material, well, then you might actually just be able to make a planet without a star. And that's kind of what's happened here. Hey, Richard, how you doing? He says, "Mark, the universe is so amazing to me. We have microscopic cells living in our bodies, and yet we are microscopic compared to the universe." Excellent, very excellent observation, man. Thank you. That's a very good observation. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, it's true, you know. And Lori says, "So these gaseous dust clouds mix in space and nothing happens?" Well, yeah, kind of, sort of. You know, they mix in space. You know, but there's nothing. Remember, the density of these clouds is extremely low. You know, we know that hydrogen burns in the presence of oxygen, right? So if we have all these hot stars, how come the hot stars with the oxygen and the hydrogen right nearby don't ignite all the hydrogen? And the answer is because the hydrogen density is so low, right? And the oxygen density is so low that there's not enough of an oxygen environment to cause that to happen, such as space. All right. So that's really that's a good, fascinating question and a good thought problem. Why doesn't the hydrogen gas surrounded by oxygen out in space explode or catch fire? Obviously fire is a chemical reaction, but still, in the presence of oxygen, hydrogen can burn. Why doesn't it? And the answer is because the density is so immensely low that it doesn't have the ability to do that. Wow. Okay, this will be the last exposure. We get to 25, and then we're done for tonight, guys. I hope you really had a good time. I had fun bringing this to you tonight. This is beautiful. And thank you for sharing the beauty of the universe with me tonight. It's awesome, as always. Enjoy your company. Thank you so much, those that donated. It was just fantastic. Remember, skytourlive.org, and follow the links underneath the portal where it says go get cool pictures, and it will take you right to the directories where this object is, and you can download it just like you see it here. All right. Well, you guys have a good night, and it's after midnight here. Been a long day for me. Been up really, really for a long time. So how about if we call it a night, and I will be back on one of the next clear nights. What do you say? So you guys have a good night. Happy Valentine's Day. And we'll talk to you later. Good night, everybody.
Stars so bright in the sky, on Arizona nights they fly. Nebulae in colors rare, galaxies beyond compare. Sky tour in the night so clear, brings the universe near. Real-time wonders to see, streaming live for you and me. Lift your eyes to the skies, universe in all its light. Sky tours bringing the views. Every night feels brand new. In the dark, the night unfolds, stories of the cosmos told. Through the lens, a distant dream, living real like a gleam. Far away, up so high, across the stars beyond the skull. Through the lens, a distant dream, living real like a gleam. Lift your eye up so high, across the stars beyond the sky. Sky tour shows us the way, every night a new display. Lift your eyes to the skies, universe in all its light. Sky tours bringing the views. Every night feels brand new. Lift your eyes to the skies, universe in all its light. Sky tours bringing the views. Every night feels brand